specifically the younger generation from violent crime.
That's the goal of a roundtable discussion today in Wichita, led by U.S. Senator Roger Marshall. 12 News reporter Dylan Domingue at that discussion today. And Dylan, what do leaders believe needs to happen, especially at the national level on this?
Well, crime prevention is not a new conversation between law enforcement and lawmakers, but in recent years, those talks have focused specifically on the younger generation. Now today, Senator Roger Marshall did meet with city and county leaders about what more still needs to be done to better protect the youth.
We are failing these children.
Monday's roundtable discussion on crime was more than just talks between law enforcement. Half of those in attendance to meet with Senator Roger Marshall came from the Wichita School District and mentorship groups, emphasizing the current need to address crime among youth.
They don't have hope, so some kind of way we got to show hope for the community again.
Wichita Police Chief Joe Sullivan and Sedgwick County Sheriff Jeff Easter agree and are pushing for more programs designed to keep young people out of trouble. WPD says most of the violent crime cases they work are tied to drug use.
Overall, violent crime is down in Wichita, but it's still far too high.
I think a lot of that is a reflection of drug trafficking, what I can do to slow down the drug trafficking, and it starts with securing the southern border.
Others advocated for more resources to be available for drug addicts and more mentors for youth starting as young as middle school. Senator Marshall believes social media is also to blame for juvenile crime.
The bill is passed.
This comes less than a week after the House voted to pass legislation that would ban the popular social media platform TikTok in the U.S.
Almost all the drug trafficking or the drug sales is taking place over social media.
I do think we need to ban TikTok. Until we can get our arms around it, we need to ban it. So we have legislation called the Cooper-Davis Act, which would prioritize those companies that own the social media to reach out to law enforcement when they're seeing it happen.
And as for other efforts that are being discussed on the national level when it comes to social media, Senator Marshall says they are considering stronger parental permission for social media apps and when kids can have access to putting those certain apps on their phone.